She adopted 3 black kids, others rejected. 10 years later, their shocking act of gratitude left the entire nation in tears. Margaret Thornton had always dreamed of having a large family. At 45, she found herself single and childless, her career as a successful pediatrician consuming most of her time. Despite her professional accomplishments, there was an undeniable void in her life, a longing for the pitter-patter of little feet and the joyous laughter of children echoing through her spacious, silent home. One crisp autumn morning in 2013, as Margaret sipped her coffee and scrolled through the local news on her tablet, an article caught her eye. Local foster care system overwhelmed. Siblings in need of loving homes. The story detailed the struggles of the overburdened foster care system and the pressing need for adoptive parents, especially for older children and sibling groups. Something stirred within Margaret's heart. She had always been passionate about helping children. It was why she became a pediatrician in the first place. But this felt like a calling. With trembling fingers, she dialed the number provided in the article. "Hello, Pinewood Foster Care and Adoption Services. How may I help you?" A warm voice answered. "Hi, my name is Dr. Margaret Thornton. I'm interested in learning more about adoption," Margaret said, her voice a mixture of nervousness and excitement. That phone call marked the beginning of a journey that would change Margaret's life forever. Over the next few weeks, she attended information sessions, filled out countless forms, and underwent rigorous background checks. The process was daunting, but Margaret's determination never wavered. During one of her meetings with Sarah, her assigned social worker, Margaret learned about a group of 3 siblings who had been in the foster care system for over 2 years. "Their names are Michael, Zoe, and Caleb," Sarah explained, sliding a folder across the desk. "They're 10, 8, and 6 years old. Their parents, well, it's a sad story. Dad's incarcerated, and Mom lost custody due to substance abuse issues. They've been bounced around different foster homes, but we're really hoping to keep them together." Margaret's heart ached as she looked at the photos of the 3 children. Michael, the oldest, had a serious expression, his eyes holding a wisdom beyond his years. Zoe's smile was bright, but there was a hint of wariness in her posture. Little Caleb clutched a worn teddy bear, his eyes wide and searching. "They've been through so much," Margaret murmured, tracing her finger over the children's faces. Sarah nodded solemnly. "They have. But they're resilient kids. They just need a chance, a stable home, love, and patience." Margaret took a deep breath. "I'd like to meet them," she said firmly. The first meeting was arranged at a local park. Margaret arrived early, her stomach fluttering with nerves. She watched as a minivan pulled up, and Sarah stepped out, followed by the 3 children she had seen in the photos. Michael approached first, his hand protectively holding onto Zoe's. Caleb trailed behind, clinging to his teddy bear. "Hi," Margaret said softly, kneeling down to their level. "I'm Margaret. It's nice to meet you all." Michael regarded her warily. "Are you going to be our new foster mom?" he asked, his voice guarded. Margaret's heart melted at his protective stance. "Well, I'd like to get to know you all better. How about we play on the swings and chat a bit?" Zoe's face lit up at the mention of swings, and even Caleb peeked out from behind his teddy bear with interest. As they spent the afternoon together, Margaret learned more about each child. Michael was a budding artist, always carrying a sketchbook with him. Zoe loved animals and dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. Caleb was shy, but had a passion for dinosaurs, rattling off facts about his favorite prehistoric creatures. The weeks that followed were filled with more visits, each one cementing Margaret's desire to make these 3 wonderful children a part of her family. There were moments of laughter, like when they all attempted to bake cookies together, ending up with more flour on themselves than in the bowl. There were also challenging moments, like when Caleb had a meltdown in the grocery store, overwhelmed by the noise and crowds. Through it all, Margaret's resolve only grew stronger. She knew that healing would take time, that there would be ups and downs, but she was committed to providing these children with the love and stability they desperately needed. Finally, after months of home studies, court appearances, and what felt like endless waiting, Margaret received the call she had been hoping for. "Dr. Thornton?" Sarah's voice came through the phone, excitement evident in her tone. I have great news. The adoption has been approved. Michael, Zoe, and Caleb are officially going to be your children. Margaret's eyes filled with tears of joy. Oh, Sarah, that's wonderful. When can I bring them home? The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Margaret transformed her guest rooms into bedrooms for each child, filling them with books, toys, and personal touches based on what she had learned about their interests. She stocked the kitchen with their favorite snacks and meals, wanting to make their transition as comfortable as possible. On the day the children were to arrive, Margaret stood in her living room, surrounded by welcome home balloons and a banner she had painstakingly crafted. When the doorbell rang, her heart leapt into her throat. Opening the door, she was greeted by 3 pairs of eyes, uncertain, hopeful, and filled with a mix of emotions she couldn't quite decipher. "Welcome home," Margaret said softly, her voice thick with emotion. Michael, always the protective older brother, spoke first. This is really our home now?" Margaret nodded, kneeling down to their level. "Yes, you want it to be. I know it might take some time to feel like home, and that's okay. We'll figure it out together." Zoe, unable to contain herself any longer, rushed forward and threw her arms around Margaret. "I've never had my own room before," she whispered. Caleb, still clutching his ever-present teddy bear, approached cautiously. Can Dino come too?" he asked, referring to his stuffed companion. Margaret smiled warmly. "Of course, Caleb. Dino is part of the family too." As they stepped into the house together, Margaret felt a profound sense of rightness. This was the beginning of their journey as a family. A journey that would be filled with challenges, laughter, tears, and most importantly, love. Little did Margaret know that this day, this decision to open her heart and home, would set in motion a series of events that would not only transform the lives of these 3 children, but would also lead to an act of gratitude so profound, it would leave her speechless a decade later. The Thornton family's story was just beginning, and the chapters that followed would be filled with more love, growth, and surprises than Margaret could have ever imagined. The first few months of their new life together were a whirlwind of adjustments, challenges, and small victories. Margaret quickly learned that parenting 3 children, each with their own unique needs and traumatic backgrounds, was far more demanding than she had anticipated. But with each passing day, their bond grew stronger, and their house began to feel more like a home. Michael, at 10 years old, struggled the most with the transition. Years of protecting his younger siblings and weathering the instability of the foster care system had left him wary and defensive. He would often retreat to his room, filling sketchbook after sketchbook with intricate drawings that seemed to tell the stories he couldn't voice. One evening, about 3 months after the adoption, Margaret gently knocked on Michael's door. "May I come in?" she asked softly. Michael nodded, hastily trying to cover his latest drawing. Margaret pretended not to notice as she sat on the edge of his bed. "I was thinking," she began, "that maybe we could turn that spare room in the basement into an art studio for you. Would you like that?" Michael's eyes widened with surprise and a hint of excitement. "Really? My own art studio?" Margaret nodded, smiling. "Really. I've noticed how talented you are, and I think it's important to nurture that. We can pick out supplies together this weekend." For the first time since he'd arrived, Michael initiated a hug, throwing his arms around Margaret. "Thank you," he whispered. It was a turning point in their relationship. As Michael's trust in Margaret grew, so did his willingness to open up about his past and his fears for the future. Late-night conversations over hot chocolate became their special ritual, time for honesty and healing. Zoe, at 8, threw herself into her new life with enthusiasm. She joined the local Girl Scout troop and begged Margaret to let her volunteer at the animal shelter. Her natural empathy and love for animals shone through in everything she did. However, Zoe's eagerness to please sometimes manifested in anxiety about disappointing Margaret. One day she came home from school in tears, clutching a math test with a C scrawled in red at the top. "I'm so sorry," Zoe sobbed. "Please, don't send me away. I promise I'll do better." Margaret's heart broke at the fear in Zoe's voice. She knelt down, enveloping the little girl in a warm embrace. "Sweetheart, listen to me. You are my daughter, and I love you unconditionally. That means no matter what grades you get, no matter what mistakes you make, I will always love you and you will always be part of this family. Do you understand? Zoe nodded, her sobs subsiding. From that day on, Margaret made sure to praise Zoe's efforts rather than just her achievements, helping her build self-esteem that wasn't tied to perfection. Caleb, the youngest at 6, had the easiest time adapting to his new home. His natural curiosity and love for learning flourished under Margaret's nurturing care. However, he struggled with nightmares and separation anxiety, often crawling into Margaret's bed in the middle of the night, clutching his trusty teddy bear Dino. Margaret, drawing on her experience as a pediatrician, worked patiently with Caleb to develop coping mechanisms. They created a brave box filled with items that made Caleb feel safe. Family photo, a small nightlight, a worry stone she kept by his bedside. Gradually, the nightmares became less frequent, and Caleb's confidence grew. As the months turned into years, the Thornton household settled into a rhythm. Family game nights on Fridays became a cherished tradition, filled with laughter and friendly competition. Sunday afternoons were reserved for adventure time, where they would explore a new park, museum, or local attraction together. Margaret made a conscious effort to connect her children with their cultural heritage. She enrolled them in a community center that offered programs celebrating African American history and culture. They attended events, read books by Black authors, and had open discussions about race and identity. "You should be proud of who you are and where you come from," Margaret would often say. "And I'm proud to be your mom." As the children grew older, new challenges arose. When Michael entered his teenage years, he began to struggle with anger issues. The pain of his past, combined with the normal turbulence of adolescence, often resulted in heated arguments and slammed doors. Margaret, realizing that Michael needed more support than she alone could provide, found a therapist who specialized in adoptive families and trauma. It wasn't an easy road, but slowly, Michael began to work through his anger and pain. One day, when Michael was 16, Margaret found a carefully wrapped package on her bed. Inside was a stunning portrait of their family. Margaret, Michael, Zoe, and Caleb, rendered in vibrant oils. The love and detail in every brushstroke took her breath away. "I know I'm not always easy to deal with," Michael said from the doorway, voice gruff with emotion. "But I want you to know, you're the best thing that ever happened to us, Mom." It was the first time he had called her Mom, and Margaret felt her heart might burst with joy. Zoe's passion for animals never wavered. By the time she was 14, she was spending every free moment volunteering at the local animal shelter. Her gentle way with even the most traumatized animals caught the attention of the shelter's veterinarian, who began mentoring her. When Zoe successfully helped rehabilitate a severely abused dog that everyone else had given up on, Margaret surprised her by taking her to a special dinner. "I'm so proud of you," Margaret said, sliding an envelope across the table. "Your compassion and dedication are truly inspiring." Zoe opened the envelope to find information about a prestigious summer program for aspiring veterinarian. Her squeal of delight drew amused looks from other diners, but Margaret didn't care. Seeing the joy and pride on her daughter's face was all that mattered. Caleb's love for dinosaurs evolved into a broader fascination with science and technology. By the age of 12, he was building his own computers and coding simple games. Margaret encouraged his interests, converting part of the garage into a makerspace where Caleb could tinker and experiment to his heart's content. When Caleb's science fair project on renewable energy won first place at the state level, Margaret watched with tears in her eyes as her youngest child confidently explained his invention to the judges. The shy, anxious little boy clutching his teddy bear had grown into a self-assured, brilliant young man. As the years passed, Margaret marveled at the incredible individuals her children were becoming. Yes, there had been challenges, moments of doubt, tears, and frustration, but there had also been countless moments of joy, triumph, and love. She thought back to that day 10 years ago when she had first seen their pictures and felt that undeniable pull in her heart. Never in her wildest dreams could she have imagined the amazing journey that lay ahead. Little did Margaret know that her children had been quietly planning something extraordinary. A gesture of gratitude, that would leave her speechless and touch the hearts of everyone who heard their story. As Michael, Zoe, and Caleb approached adulthood, they were about to show the world just how profoundly one person's love could change lives. The Thornton family's greatest chapter was yet to be written, and it would be a testament to the transformative power of unconditional love and the unbreakable bonds of family. As Michael, Zoe, and Caleb entered their late teens and early 20s, the Thornton household faced a new set of challenges. Margaret found herself navigating the complex waters of raising 3 young adults, each with their own dreams, struggles, and paths to forge. Michael, now 20, had blossomed into a talented artist. His work, often exploring themes of identity, family, and belonging, had begun to attract attention in local art circles. However, with his growing success came new pressures and old insecurities resurfacing. One crisp autumn evening, Margaret found Michael sitting on the back porch, staring pensively at the sunset. She settled beside him, waiting patiently for him to speak. "Mom," he said finally, voice barely above a whisper, "what if I'm not good enough? What if I can't make it as an artist?" Margaret turned to face her son, taking in the worry lines creasing his forehead. "Michael, listen to me. Your talent is undeniable, but even if you weren't the amazing artist you are, you would still be enough. Your worth isn't tied to your art or your success. It's intrinsic to who you are." Michael nodded slowly, letting her words sink in. "But what if I let you down?" Margaret's heart ached at the vulnerability in his voice. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, pulling him into a hug, "you could never let me down. I'm proud of you not because of what you achieve, but because of who you are. Your kindness, your resilience, your passion, that's what makes me proud." As they sat there, watching the sky turn from gold to deep purple, Margaret realized that some wounds took a lifetime to heal. She would be there, steady and loving, for as long as it took. Zoe at 18 was preparing for her first year of college. She had been accepted into a prestigious pre-veterinary program, a testament to her years of hard work and dedication. But as the departure date loomed closer, Zoe became uncharacteristically quiet and withdrawn. One day, as Margaret was helping Zoe pack, she noticed her daughter's hands trembling as she folded a sweater. "Zoe, honey, what's wrong?" Margaret asked gently. Zoe's composure crumbled, and she burst into tears. "I'm scared, Mom," she sobbed. "What if I'm not smart enough? What if I fail? And what if something happens to you or Michael or Caleb while I'm gone?" Margaret gathered Zoe in her arms, stroking her hair soothingly. "Oh, my brave girl," she murmured. "It's okay to be scared. New beginnings are always a little frightening, but you are more than capable. You've overcome so much already." She pulled back slightly, looking Zoe in the eyes. "And as for us, we'll always be here for you. Distance can't change that. We're family, remember? That's forever." Together, they worked on strategies to manage Zoe's anxiety. They set up regular video chat schedules, created a photo album of family memories for Zoe to take to college, and even planned a surprise care package system. When the day came for Zoe to leave for college, there were tears, also excitement and pride. As they hugged goodbye, Margaret whispered, "You're going to change the world, Zoe. I just know it." Caleb, now 16, was a junior in high school and a certified computer whiz. His coding skills had advanced to the point where he was developing apps and programs that were gaining traction online. However, his social skills lagged behind his technical abilities, and he often struggled to connect with his peers. One afternoon, Margaret received a call from Caleb's school counselor. Caleb had been involved in a heated argument with a classmate who had made fun of his adoption and his race. When Caleb came home, his face was a storm of emotions. Anger, hurt, and confusion warred in his eyes. "Why did she say those things, Mom?" he asked, his voice cracking. Am I really part of this family?" Margaret felt a surge of protective anger, followed by a deep sadness. She had always known this day might come, but it didn't make it any easier. "Caleb," she said firmly, taking his hands in hers, "you are my son. Biology doesn't make a family, love does. Those kids at school, they don't understand. But that doesn't make their words true or right." They spent the evening talking about race, adoption, and identity. Margaret shared stories of famous adopted individuals who had changed the world, and they looked at family photos, remembering happy times they had shared. "You know, Margaret said thoughtfully. Your unique experiences and perspective make you who you are. They're not a weakness, Caleb. They're your strength. Inspired by this conversation, Caleb began working on a new app. One designed to connect adoptive families and provide resources for adopted children struggling with identity issues. It would become his most successful project yet, touching lives across the country. As Margaret watched her children navigate these challenges, she marveled at their resilience and strength. Each obstacle they overcame, each fear they faced, made them stronger and brought them closer as a family. There were still difficult days. Days when the weight of the past felt heavy, when doubts crept in, when the world seemed unkind. But there were also days of incredible joy and triumph. Like the day Michael's art was featured in a major gallery show, and his family stood proudly beside him as he explained his work to admirers. Or the day Zoe called home, breathless with excitement, to announce she had been chosen for a prestigious internship at a wildlife rehabilitation center. Or the afternoon Caleb's app won a national competition for young innovators, and he dedicated his win to the mom who taught me that family is about love, not DNA. Through it all, Margaret's love remained constant. She was their rock, their cheerleader, their safe harbor in any storm. And though she never asked for anything in return, her children were quietly planning a way to show her just how much her love had meant to them. As the 10-year anniversary of their adoption approached, Michael, Zoe, and Caleb began to put their plan into motion. They wanted to do something extraordinary, something that would not only thank Margaret, but also pay forward the love and opportunity she had given them. Little did Margaret know that her children's gratitude was about to manifest in a way that would touch not just her life, but the lives of countless others. The Thornton family's story of love, resilience, and the true meaning of family was about to inspire a nation. As the years passed, Michael, Zoe, and Caleb continued to grow and thrive, each carving out their own path in the world. Their individual achievements were a testament not only to their own hard work and determination, but also to the unwavering support and love of their adoptive mother, Margaret. Michael, now 23, had graduated from art school and was making waves in the contemporary art world. His unique style, which blended traditional techniques with digital media, spoke to themes of identity, family, and the complexities of the modern world. His breakout series, titled Roots and Wings, explored his journey as an adopted child and the duality of belonging to two families. One piece in particular captured the attention of critics and art lovers alike. It was a large-scale digital painting titled The Tapestry of Us. At first glance, it appeared to be an abstract swirl of colors and shapes. But as viewers looked closer, they could see that the image was composed of thousands of tiny photographs, snapshots of Michael's life with Margaret, Zoe, and Caleb, interwoven with images representing his birth family and cultural heritage. The piece was featured in a prestigious New York gallery, and on opening night, Margaret stood beside Michael, her eyes shining with pride as he eloquently explained his work to a captivated audience. This piece represents the beautiful complexity of adoption, Michael told the crowd. It's about how love can create a family that's as real and strong as any biological one, while also honoring the roots we come from. As the evening wound down, a renowned art critic approached them. "Your work is extraordinary," she told Michael. "The emotion, the technique, it's unlike anything I've seen. But I must ask, who is this woman who features so prominently in your pieces?" Michael smiled, putting his arm around Margaret. "This is my mom," he said simply. "She's the reason I'm here today, in more ways than one." Zoe, at 21, was thriving in her veterinary studies. Her passion for animal welfare had only grown stronger over the years, and she had become known on campus for her exceptional skills in handling even the most difficult cases. During her junior year, Zoe was selected for a highly competitive internship at a world-renowned wildlife rehabilitation center in South Africa. It was a dream come true, but it also meant being away from home for 6 months, the longest she'd ever been apart from her family. The night before her departure, Zoe found Margaret sitting on the porch swing, photo album open on her lap. "Mom?" Zoe said softly, sitting down beside her. "What are you looking at?" Margaret smiled, showing her the album. It was full of pictures of Zoe throughout the years, from her first day with the family to her high school graduation. "Just remembering," Margaret said. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. You've come so far." Zoe felt tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm scared," she admitted. "What if I'm not good enough?" Margaret wrapped an arm around her daughter. "Zoe, you are more than good enough. You have a gift, not just with animals, but with people too. Your compassion, your determination, those are your superpowers. Use them, and you'll do amazing things." Those words stayed with Zoe throughout her internship. When faced with challenging cases or moments of self-doubt, she would remember her mother's faith in her, and it gave her the strength to push through. Zoe's work at the Rehabilitation Center was nothing short of extraordinary. She played a crucial role in saving a group of orphaned elephant calves, developing an innovative feeding system that increased their survival rate. Her methods were so successful that they were adopted by other wildlife centers across Africa. As her internship came to an end, Zoe was offered a permanent position at the center after she completed her degree. When she called Margaret to share the news, her excitement was palpable, even across the thousands of miles separating them. "Mom, they want me to stay. They said my work has been groundbreaking," Zoe exclaimed. Margaret felt a mixture of pride and bittersweet emotion. Her little girl had grown into an incredible woman, making a real difference in the world. "I always knew you would change the world, Zoe," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm so proud of you." Caleb, the youngest at 19, had taken the tech world by storm. The app he had developed in high school to support adopted children and their families had grown into a full-fledged platform, connecting thousands of adoptive families across the globe. But Caleb didn't stop there. Inspired by his own experiences and the challenges he'd seen his siblings face, he expanded the app to include resources for mental health support, educational advocacy, and cultural connection for adopted children. His work caught the attention of major tech companies and child welfare organizations alike. Caleb was invited to speak at conferences, consulted on government policies regarding adoption and foster care, and was even featured in Forbes' 30 Under 30 list. Despite his growing fame in the tech world, Caleb remained grounded, always crediting his family for his success. Interview, he spoke about the transformative power of adoption and the incredible mother who had given him and his siblings a chance at a better life. One particularly memorable moment came during a TED Talk Caleb gave on the intersection of technology and social welfare. As he neared the end of his speech, he paused, his voice softening. "None of this would have been possible without one person," he said, his eyes scanning the audience until they landed on Margaret, sitting in the front row. "Mom, stand up, please." Margaret, surprised, slowly stood as the audience applauded. "This is my mom," Caleb said, his voice filled with emotion. 10 years ago, she chose to adopt 3 kids who had been in the system for years. She gave us a home, an education, and most importantly, unconditional love. She taught us that family isn't about blood. It's about love, commitment, and choice. Every day she chose us, and because of her choice, because of her love, my siblings and I are able to stand here today, working to make the world a little bit better. The audience rose in a standing ovation as Caleb walked off the stage and into Margaret's arms. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. As Margaret held her youngest son, she marveled at the incredible adults her children had become. Michael, with his thought-provoking art that challenged perceptions of family and identity. Zoe, whose compassion for animals was literally saving lives across continents. And Caleb, using his brilliant mind to create technology that supported families like their own. Each of her children had taken the love she'd given them and multiplied it, spreading it out into the world in their own unique ways. They had faced challenges, overcome obstacles, and emerged stronger for it. They had not just survived, but thrived. But even as she celebrated their achievements, Margaret had no idea that her children were planning something extraordinary. Something that would not only honor her, but also create a lasting legacy of love and hope for other families like theirs. The Thornton family's greatest triumph was yet to come, and it would be a testament to the power of love, the strength of family, and the ripple effect of one woman's decision to open her heart and home to 3 children in need. As the 10-year anniversary of their adoption approached, Michael, Zoe, and Caleb found themselves reflecting on the tremendous impact Margaret had made on their lives. They wanted to do something extraordinary to show their gratitude. Something that would not only thank Margaret, but also honor her legacy of love and compassion. After months of secret planning and coordination, the day finally arrived. It was a warm Saturday morning, and Margaret was enjoying her coffee on the porch, unaware of the surprise that awaited her. "Mom," Michael called from inside the house, "can you come here for a minute? We have something to show you." Curious, Margaret made her way to the living room, where she found her 3 children standing together, barely containing their excitement. "What's going on?" she asked, looking from one face to another. Zoe stepped forward, holding an envelope. "Mom, 10 years ago, you changed our lives forever. You gave us a home, a family, and a future we never thought we'd have. Today, we want to show you just how much that means to us." With trembling hands, Margaret opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, which she began to read aloud. "Dear Margaret Thornton, we are pleased to inform you of the establishment of the Margaret Thornton Foundation for Adoptive Families. This foundation, created in your honor by your children, Michael, Zoe, and Caleb, aims to support and empower adoptive families across the nation." Margaret's voice trailed off as the magnitude of what she was reading sank in. She looked up at her children, her eyes brimming with tears. Caleb stepped in to explain. "Mom, we've pooled our resources and worked with legal teams to create this foundation. It will provide financial assistance, counseling services, and educational support to adoptive families, especially those adopting older children or sibling groups." Michael added, "We've also partnered with several corporations and philanthropists who were moved by our story. They've pledged significant contributions to ensure the foundation's long-term success." "But that's not all," Zoe said, barely able to contain her excitement. "We've worked with local and state governments to create a new adoption support program. It's been approved in our state and is being considered by several others. This program will provide additional resources and support to families considering adoption, making it easier for more children to find loving home." Margaret was speechless. She looked at the 3 incredible adults before her, remembering the scared, hurt children they had once been. Now, they stood tall and proud, using their success and influence to help others who were in the same situation they had once been. "There's one more thing," Michael said softly. He handed Margaret a beautifully bound book. As she opened it, she gasped. It was filled with letters, hundreds of them, from families whose lives had been touched by the Thornton Children's various projects over the years. There were notes from aspiring artists inspired by Michael's work and his story, letters from animal lovers and conservationists who had been moved by Zoe's dedication to wildlife, messages from adoptive families who had found support and community, Caleb's app. And woven through all of these stories was a common thread, the impact of Margaret's love, which had rippled out through her children to touch countless lives. "You didn't just change our lives, Mom," Caleb said, his voice thick with emotion. "Through us, you've changed so many others. We wanted to create something that would continue that legacy of love for generations to come." Overwhelmed, Margaret pulled her children into a tight embrace. For a long moment, they stood there, this family bound not by blood but by love, their hearts beating as one. When Margaret finally found her voice, it was barely above a whisper. "I am so proud of you all, so proud. But you need to know, you don't owe me anything. Loving you, being your mother, has been the greatest gift of my life." Zoe wiped away a tear. "We know, Mom, this isn't about owing. It's about continuing the cycle of love you started. It's about making sure other children get the same chance we did." As the day went on, more surprises unfolded. The Thornton story had caught the attention of national media, and a documentary crew arrived to capture their story. Interviews with Margaret and her children would be interwoven with the stories of families who would be helped by the new foundation. Local officials arrived to present Margaret with a key to the city, honoring her as a champion of children for her role in raising 3 remarkable individuals who were making a difference in the world. But for Margaret, the greatest joy came later that evening. As the excitement died down and the visitors left, she found herself on the porch swing, surrounded by her children. Just like they used to do when the kids were young, they sat together, talking and laughing, sharing memories and dreams for the future. Michael brought out his sketch pad and began to draw the scene. His family, together and happy. Zoe told stories about the elephant calves she had helped rescue, her eyes shining with passion. Caleb excitedly shared ideas for new features he wanted to add to his app to support even more families. As Margaret looked at her children, these amazing, compassionate, world-changing individuals, she felt a sense of awe. She had once thought she was rescuing them, giving them a chance at a better life. But the truth was, they had rescued her too. They had filled her life with purpose, joy, and more love than she had ever thought possible. The Margaret Thornton Foundation would go on to help thousands of families over the years. It would provide support, resources, and hope to countless children in need of loving homes. The ripple effect of one woman's decision to open her heart would continue for generations. But for Margaret, the greatest achievement, the most precious gift, was right here on this porch. It was in Michael's gentle smile, Zoe's infectious laugh, and Caleb's thoughtful gaze. It was in the love that flowed between them, stronger than any biological bond. 10 years ago, Margaret Thornton had adopted 3 children, hoping to make a difference in their lives. She could never have imagined how profoundly they would change hers and the world in return. As the stars began to twinkle in the evening sky, Margaret sent up a silent prayer of gratitude. For her children, for the journey they had shared, and for the beautiful reminder that love, in its purest form, has the power to transform lives, build families, and change the world. The Thornton family's story was far from over. It was, in many ways, just beginning. But one thing was certain. Whatever the future held, they would face it together, bound by a love that had not only withstood the test of time, but had grown stronger with each passing year. And in living rooms across the country, as people watched the Thornton story unfold on their television screens, a spark of hope was ignited. Perhaps they thought, they too could open their hearts and homes. Perhaps they too could change a life, start a family, make a difference. In this way, Margaret's legacy of love continued to grow, touching lives far beyond her own family, creating a brighter future for children in need of homes and for families longing for children to love. The story of the woman who adopted 3 black kids 10 years ago and how they repaid her became more than just a heartwarming tale. It became a catalyst for change, a beacon of hope, and a powerful reminder of the transformative power of love.